I never thought a simple dare could change my life forever. My name is Alex, and on the surface, I was just your average 23-year-old guy trying to juggle work, a social life, and a fairly normal relationship. I lived in a small, cozy apartment tucked away in the quieter side of the city, a place where the hum of traffic was just enough to remind me the world was still moving, but not so loud that it felt oppressive. I had a regular 9-to-5 office job as a junior graphic designer at a small firm downtown. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, and I liked it well enough. Most of my colleagues were friendly, though I kept a low profile. The thing is, outside of work, I had a secret, a part of me I had never told anyone, not even my best friends. I had always been fascinated by the idea of crossdressing. At first, it was curiosity. Then it became something more, something I could lose myself in when nobody was watching. There was something oddly comforting about slipping into a dress, the softness of fabric against my skin, the way a little bit of makeup could change how I saw myself, and in a strange, thrilling way, how I imagined the world might see me too. But it was always my secret. Always. Until Emma came along. Emma was intense. She had this magnetic energy that could light up a room and a teasing streak that made it impossible to stay serious around her for long. She knew me better than I let most people. We'd been dating for almost 2 years, and despite all the usual ups and downs, we had this weird, effortless understanding between us. She was playful, daring, and sometimes reckless, but in a way that made me feel alive. And that's how she ended up on the couch one evening, leaning back with a mischievous grin, tossing out a dare that would completely upend my world. "You've never done anything wild, Alex," she said, smirking. "I bet you couldn't survive a whole night as me." I laughed nervously, thinking she meant just a silly mimicry, maybe trying on her clothes for a bit. But the glint in her eyes made my stomach twist. This was more than just a joke. "Come on," she added, leaning closer. "I mean, actually be me for a night. Hair, makeup, the whole thing. If you do it, I'll owe you something ridiculous. And if you don't, well, let's just say the punishment might be fun to watch." And there it was. A simple challenge, but beneath it, I felt the first stirrings of both fear and excitement. Part of me wanted to run, wanted to say no and retreat to my comfort zone. Another part craved it. Craved the thrill, the risk, the chance to step fully into a version of myself I had only ever explored in private. Our apartment became the stage for this experiment. Emma's room, bright, perfectly organized, with clothes hanging like a rainbow on her rack, was both intimidating and tantalizing. I had seen the clothes before, of course, but now they weren't just hers. They were my potential armor, my key to transformation. I couldn't imagine the courage it would take to walk the thin line between excitement and embarrassment. I paused in front of her mirror, staring at my reflection and feeling a rush of conflicting emotions. Who was I about to become? What if I looked ridiculous? What if Emma laughed at me, or worse, what if I liked it too much? The thought sent a shiver down my spine. I had played with this side of myself before, alone in my apartment with the lights dimmed, but now it was different. Now it was public, almost. Emma was watching, her eyes dancing with anticipation. She clapped her hands softly, breaking me out of my thoughts.
"Go on," she said.
"I'll help you. I'll guide you. Let's see if you can really do it." And that's when the first piece of the transformation began. She handed me a dress, a silky little number that felt alien in my hands, yet somehow inviting. As I traced my fingers over the soft fabric, a strange warmth spread through me. My pulse quickened. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat as I glanced up at her. She wasn't just challenging me. She was daring me to become someone new, and maybe, in a strange twist, someone I could never go back from. Emma's voice pulled me back to reality. "First, the basics, makeup. Don't worry, I'll show you everything." I sat down, my hands trembling slightly as she handed me brushes, powders, and colors that seemed more intimidating than any boardroom presentation or client pitch I had faced at work. The first swipe of foundation on my face felt surreal. Every brushstroke, every line I drew with trembling precision, changed how I saw myself. I was still me, yet not me. A strange thrill coursed through me. And that, right there, was the seed of what would become an unforgettable night. A night where fear, excitement, and the strange liberation of becoming someone else would collide. Little did I know, Emma's dare wasn't just about dresses and makeup. It was a doorway into a world where my identity, my fears, and my secret desires would all be tested. By the time I slipped on the dress and hesitated at the edge of her bedroom, I realized I wasn't just dressing up. I was stepping into a persona that could change everything. My reflection in the mirror no longer looked like Alex. It looked like a version of me that was bolder, brighter, and infinitely more exposed. And Emma's smile told me she knew exactly how powerful that feeling could be. "Ready," she whispered. I swallowed hard, my heart hammering. The answer was yes. I was ready, but I had no idea just how deep this dare would take me or how tangled the consequences would become. The first few moments were the hardest. Sitting on the edge of Emma's neatly made bed, Alex's hands trembled slightly as he held the delicate dress she had chosen for him. It was soft, silky, and shockingly feminine, the kind of outfit Emma could wear to brunch or a casual evening out. To Alex, though, it felt like stepping off the edge of a cliff, thrilling, terrifying, and completely irreversible. Emma, noticing his hesitation, leaned forward, her hands brushing his as she helped him slide the dress over his shoulders. "Relax," she whispered, her voice both playful and soothing. "You're going to be amazing. Trust me." The moment the dress settled against his skin, Alex felt a strange, almost dizzying sensation. The fabric was smooth, almost liquid against his chest and back. It clung in all the right places, emphasizing curves he had never had before. He caught sight of himself in the mirror, and for a moment, he barely recognized the person staring back. His jawline was still sharp, his shoulders still broad, but his eyes now seemed softer, framed by the shimmer of eyeshadow and the subtle line of eyeliner Emma had carefully applied. "You look incredible," Emma breathed, stepping back to admire her handiwork. "But we're not done yet." The next step was hair. Emma handed him a wig, a long cascade of silky brown curls. Alex hesitated, running his fingers through it, feeling its weight. As she secured it over his head, she guided him through adjusting the strands around his face, framing it just like hers. The mirror now reflected a startlingly feminine version of Alex, someone both familiar and utterly foreign. His heart pounded as he tilted his head, trying to reconcile the person in the mirror with the person he had been just an hour ago. "Now shoes," Emma said, producing a pair of delicate heels. Alex stared. They were taller than anything he had ever worn, with a narrow heel that made him immediately aware of his balance, or lack thereof. He slipped them on slowly, gripping the bed for support. Standing up, his knees wobbled slightly. He laughed nervously, the sound high and unfamiliar to him, and Emma giggled in return. "You're perfect," she whispered, circling him like a proud sculptor admiring her work. "Absolutely perfect. But remember, tonight, you're my best friend. My new BFF. You've got to own it." Alex swallowed hard. Best friend? It wasn't just about looking like Emma. It was about stepping fully into her world, adopting her mannerisms, her voice, even her little quirks. The weight of the dare suddenly felt heavier, more serious. He had thought this would be a fun game, a silly experiment, but now, the line between play and reality blurred. As they left the apartment for a small night gathering Emma had planned, her friend's party at a nearby lounge, Alex's stomach churned. Every step in the heels was a reminder of how exposed he was. He had never worn anything like this in public before, and the adrenaline coursing through him made every glance from passers-by feel magnified, every reflection in a store window a potential trap. At the lounge, the lights were dim, and Emma's friends were already there, laughing and chatting. Alex froze at the threshold, feeling the gaze of a dozen strangers. Emma squeezed his hand. "Remember, confidence is key," she whispered. "Act like you've been this person your whole life." Taking a deep breath, Alex stepped in. The sensation was surreal. The dress swished softly with each movement, and the heels forced him to adjust his posture. He felt every inch of his body differently, more aware, more delicate, more observed. Her friends greeted him warmly, or at least, they assumed it was just Emma playing a new game. "Emma, you look amazing," one of them said, smiling. Alex forced a laugh, mimicking Emma's tone, but his voice cracked slightly. He felt their eyes flick between him and Emma, trying to gauge if this was a joke or reality. The night was a blur of small talks, laughter, and the constant tightrope of maintaining his persona. Every time he stumbled slightly in the heels or hesitated mid-conversation, his heart leapt. Would someone notice? Would Emma laugh? Or worse, would they see him for who he truly was beneath the layers of makeup and fabric? Back at the apartment later, the real challenge began. Emma had one final twist. "Okay, Alex," she said, leaning against the doorframe with that same mischievous smile. "You've done amazingly so far. But now it's time to really test you. You'll have to stay in this persona, my persona, until morning. That means makeup, hair, everything. If anyone calls or comes by, you have to be me." Alex's heart skipped. Staying in character overnight? That meant full immersion, no chance to retreat to his usual self. The thought was thrilling and terrifying. He nodded, though, unable to resist the strange excitement building in his chest. As he moved through the apartment, every reflection caught him off guard. The mirror in the hallway, the glint of chrome in the kitchen. Every glimpse was a reminder of how far he had stepped from Alex and how completely he had embraced this new identity. The excitement was tinged with a new emotion, vulnerability. He was exposed, yet exhilarated. Emma left briefly to fetch some snacks, leaving Alex alone in the living room. He sank onto the couch, tugging at the dress nervously. It was soft, comforting in a strange way, but also suffocating. He ran his fingers over the fabric, feeling its texture, and thought about how this version of himself was both stronger and more fragile than he had ever felt. The heels pinched slightly, the wig itched at his scalp, but he didn't care. He had never felt this alive, this fully aware of every part of himself. Then came the moment that would solidify the suspense, a knock on the door. Alex froze. Emma wasn't back yet. Who could it be at this hour? Panic surged. If it was a neighbor or someone from the building, would they see him like this? Would they know it was Alex underneath the dress? The knock came again, louder this time. Alex's heart raced. He tiptoed to the peephole, taking care to steady his hands. It was a delivery person, thankfully. He exhaled, feeling the first wave of relief. But the incident left him shaken, his adrenaline spiking, his awareness of the night's precariousness sharpened. He realized that every small moment now carried a risk, every shadow could hide a discovery. By the time Emma returned, Alex was trembling slightly, a mix of fear and excitement coursing through him. She took one look at him and laughed softly, a sound that was both approving and teasing.
"See?
You can do it. You're perfect. My new BFF." Alex forced a smile, though his mind was racing. The night was far from over, and he knew this was only the beginning. Every time he caught his reflection, felt the swish of the dress, or adjusted the wig, he was reminded of the delicate balance he had to maintain. The dare had become a test, not just of courage, but of identity, secrecy, and self-discovery. As the hours stretched on, Alex felt himself slipping further into this new persona. The lines between Alex and Emma's BFF blurred. He laughed, spoke, and moved like Emma, fully aware that any misstep could shatter the illusion. Every glance from Emma, every whispered compliment, pushed him deeper into this thrilling, suspenseful world. And beneath it all, a seed of realization grew. This night, this dare, could change him forever. The fear, the excitement, and the intoxicating liberation of being someone else all wrapped together into a storm he didn't want to escape from. Little did he know, the real suspense, the kind that would test his very identity, was only just beginning. The night was deeper than Alex expected, and the apartment was quieter now, except for the occasional hum of the city outside. Emma had gone to the kitchen to grab some late-night snacks, leaving Alex alone with the reflection of his transformed self in the mirror. Standing there in heels that pinched his feet, wearing the silky dress that clung to his shoulders and waist, He felt every ounce of vulnerability and exhilaration collide. His pulse quickened. He had been Emma's BFF all evening, mimicking her laughter, her gestures, her voice, and yet, now alone, the thrill gave way to something more unnerving. The quiet made him hyper-aware of every sound, the creak of the floorboards, the distant traffic, the soft rustle of fabric against his skin. He had been so absorbed in becoming someone else that he hadn't considered how fragile this new persona truly was. Then came the knock. Alex froze. This time, it wasn't soft or tentative, it was urgent, insistent. He darted to the peephole, heart hammering. Outside was a familiar face, Kelsey, Emma's best friend. She was here tonight. Panic surged through him. Kelsey knew Emma well. She knew the quirks, the little mannerisms. If she saw him like this, the illusion would shatter instantly. Emma returned at that moment, holding a plate of cookies, and noticed Alex's tense posture. "What's wrong?" she asked, but before Alex could respond, Kelsey knocked again, this time with a jolt. Emma's grin was mischievous. "Well, looks like your first real test, BFF," she teased. "Ready?" Alex swallowed hard. He wasn't sure he was ready, but there was no turning back now. Emma opened the door, and Kelsey stepped in. The first few seconds were awkward. Kelsey looked between Emma and Alex, blinking, trying to process the situation. Hi, Emma." "Who's?" Alex forced a smile, mimicking Emma's tone perfectly, the one she used when chatting with friends.
"Hey."
"Just hanging out. Isn't it fun to try something different?" Kelsey raised an eyebrow, but smiled uncertainly. "Okay, sure." The tension in the room was palpable. Every small movement Alex made was loaded with risk. If he faltered, stumbled in his heels, or forgot a subtle gesture, Kelsey would immediately see through the act. He could feel sweat forming at the base of his neck, dampening the wig. His fingers itched to adjust it, but he reminded himself, stay in character. Emma poured drinks and nudged Alex subtly. "Just relax, act natural," she whispered. "You've got this." But then came the first slip. Alex, nervous, tripped slightly over the edge of the rug. Kelsey's eyes widened, but Alex managed to laugh it off, tucking a hand into his curls to appear playful rather than clumsy. Emma caught his gaze and winked. She was both proud and amused. As the evening progressed, the pressure intensified. Kelsey began asking more personal questions, teasing Emma, or so Alex had to make it seem. He felt like he was walking a tightrope, every word and gesture a potential disaster. "Emma, are you trying a new style?" "You look different," Kelsey said, leaning in. Her tone was curious, but the hint of suspicion was unmistakable. Alex's heart pounded. He forced a laugh, tilting his head just like Emma would. "Oh, just playing around. You know me, always up for a little experiment." But inwardly, panic clawed at him. One wrong word, one misplaced laugh, and Kelsey would see through him. He could almost feel the boundaries of his dual identity starting to blur. Alex and Emma's BFF were merging in ways he hadn't anticipated. Then came the phone call. Emma's phone buzzed, and she excused herself, leaving Alex alone again. His pulse raced as he heard the ringtone, his name flashing on the screen. A friend from work? A neighbor? The moment felt like an eternity. He had to answer, but if anyone heard his real voice, everything would unravel. Taking a deep breath, he picked up. "Hello," he managed, his voice higher than normal, trembling slightly. He mimicked Emma's cheerful tone, as best he could. The voice on the other end was casual, unaware of the tension. But Alex's heart was in his throat. The conversation felt like a test, every word measured, every pause deliberate. By the time he hung up, sweat was beading on his forehead. Emma returned, raising an eyebrow. "Handled that well," she said, a teasing glint in her eyes. "But you're learning, BFF. This is only the beginning." And she was right. Minutes later, another unexpected twist, a sudden knock at the door. Alex froze. His stomach sank. This time, it was someone he couldn't predict, his neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, who often popped in unannounced. His mind raced. He wasn't ready for this. Not now, not like this. Emma glanced at him, her grin widening. BFF, your moment to shine. With shaking hands, Alex opened the door, keeping his posture perfect, smiling as Emma had taught him. Mrs. Callahan's eyes narrowed slightly. "Oh, Emma? You look, different tonight." Alex forced a laugh, voice high and lilting. "Thanks. Just trying something new." It was close, too close. He could feel the adrenaline pulsing through him, his heart hammering against his ribs. He realized how delicate the illusion was, how every moment could tip him into exposure. Later, when he finally sat down, the full weight of the night hit him. The dress, the heels, the wig, the persona, it wasn't just a costume. It had become a second skin. He felt exhilarated and terrified all at once, trapped in this dual identity. Every glance at a mirror reminded him of the transformation he had undergone, and of the possibility that it could all collapse with a single misstep. Emma, noticing his tension, sat beside him, placing a hand on his knee. "You've done so well," she said softly. "But now comes the real test. Trust yourself. Trust the BFF you've become." And that's when it happened. The wig slipped slightly, revealing a hint of Alex's natural hair. Panic surged. He froze, hoping Emma or anyone else wouldn't notice. His mind raced, heart thundering in his chest. Could he fix it before anyone saw? Would they understand? Or would it all come crashing down, exposing him completely? Emma leaned closer, noticing the slight slip. But instead of laughing or calling him out, she whispered, "It's okay. You're perfect just the way you are." The words were both a comfort and a shock. Alex felt a mixture of relief, vulnerability, and an almost overwhelming sense of connection. He realized that the dare, the transformation, the suspense, it had brought him to a point where he was more exposed emotionally than he had ever been, yet also more alive, more seen, more understood. But even in that moment, he knew the night wasn't over. The stakes remained high. Every sound, every shadow, every knock could reveal him. Every reflection could betray the dual life he had embraced. And the question lingered in his mind, chilling and thrilling all at once. What would happen if someone discovered the truth? Would Emma be proud, amused, or furious? And most importantly, what did he really want when the dare ended? The night stretched on, and Alex felt the tension build with every passing moment. The thrill of being caught, the anxiety of maintaining the facade, the physical strain of heels and dress, and the emotional vulnerability of exposing a hidden side of himself. It was all overwhelming. And yet, he couldn't deny the intoxicating rush of it. The line between Alex and Emma's BFF blurred more with every passing minute. He laughed, he joked, he played the part perfectly. But deep down, he knew that this night would change him forever. The dare wasn't just a game. It was a transformation, one that tested his courage, identity, and heart in ways he could never have anticipated. The apartment was quiet now, the kind of quiet that makes every creak of the floorboards feel like a thunderclap. Alex sat on the edge of the couch, still in the silky dress, heels perched precariously on his feet, wig slightly askew from the long night. The adrenaline that had fueled him earlier was fading, leaving him exhausted but strangely electrified. Emma was in the kitchen, humming softly as she cleaned up the remnants of the night's snacks. Her eyes sparkled when she glanced over her shoulder at him. "You did amazingly tonight," she said. "Honestly, I don't think I could have imagined a better BFF." Alex laughed weakly, though inside, he was trembling. He had survived the night's tests, Kelsey's visit, the unexpected phone call, Mrs. Callahan's unannounced knock, but he knew it hadn't been without risk. Every step he took, every word he spoke, had been a careful balancing act. One slip, one misstep, and everything could collapse. He ran a hand along the fabric of the dress, feeling its softness, its foreign intimacy against his skin. In the mirror across the room, his reflection stared back at him. Alex, and yet not Alex. Someone else, someone bolder, more vulnerable, more alive. He tilted his head, watching the wig fall slightly over one eye. His breath caught. This version of himself, Emma's BFF, had been so convincing, so immersive, that he barely recognized where the dare ended and reality began. Emma walked over and sat beside him, her hand brushing against his. "You know," she said, teasing, "I think you might actually like this more than you admit." Alex swallowed. Did he? The thrill of transformation, the freedom to explore this side of himself, the rush of being observed yet unseen, it was intoxicating. And terrifying. And somehow, impossibly, he wanted more. But the fear lingered too. What if someone discovered him? What if the line between Alex and this new persona blurred permanently? The knock came again. Alex froze, his stomach nodding. Another visitor? At this hour? Emma raised an eyebrow, her grin mischievous. "You've got this, BFF," she whispered. "Handle it." Alex tiptoed to the door, heart hammering in his chest. Peering through the peephole, he saw a figure he did not expect, a familiar face from work, someone who knew him as Alex, the quiet, professional graphic designer. His pulse skyrocketed. How much did they know? How much would they notice? Emma's voice was calm behind him. "Remember, be confident. Be me." Taking a deep, shaky breath, Alex opened the door, forcing his posture, his voice, his entire being into the persona he had worn all night. "Hey, just hanging out," he said, high and playful, just like Emma. The person on the other side froze, blinking, clearly unsure. Alex's mind raced. One slip could reveal everything. But then, a soft chuckle broke the tension. "Emma? You look different tonight," the person said. Their eyes flicked over him, a mixture of amusement and curiosity. Alex felt a bead of sweat trickle down his temple. He could feel the walls closing in. One wrong word, one hesitation, and the entire night's effort would unravel. Before he could respond, Emma's hand slid around his waist, steadying him. "It's all good," she whispered. "Just keep calm." Alex nodded, but deep down he realized he was at the edge. The dare, the transformation, the night's thrill, they had brought him to a point where the stakes were higher than ever. And the truth was, he wasn't sure he could step back into the safety of his old life without losing something he had only just discovered, the exhilaration of being fully, unapologetically someone else. As he smiled, laughing nervously at the unexpected visitor's bemusement, a sudden noise from behind caught his attention. The wig slipped further, the dress tugged awkwardly, and in that instant, Alex felt the fragile veil of his secret begin to crack. Emma's whisper cut through his panic. "Breathe. You've done so well, but the night isn't over." Alex's heart pounded. The door creaked again, louder this time. Another visitor? Or was it something else? His mind raced with possibilities. Every sound seemed amplified, every shadow a potential threat. He glanced at the mirror, and the reflection that stared back was a perfect blend of Alex and Emma's BFF. A smile that wasn't quite his, a tilt of the head that wasn't natural, but somehow it felt right. And then, just as he was about to regain his composure, the figure in the hallway cleared their throat. A voice, low and familiar, asked, "Emma, can I come in?" Alex froze. The words echoed in his ears, sending a shiver down his spine. His reflection in the mirror seemed to mock him, a reminder of how precarious the night had become. He knew, in that instant, that everything he had worked for, every lie, every pose, every careful movement, was hanging by a thread. Emma leaned closer, her eyes sparkling with mischief and something else, approval, perhaps, or encouragement. "Your BFF moment just got real," she whispered. Alex's pulse raced. He took a shaky breath, his fingers gripping the edge of the doorframe. He had to make a choice. Open the door, confront the risk, and maintain the persona, or retreat into safety and risk losing the thrill, the identity, the connection he had discovered tonight. The door handle turned. And then, the screen goes black.